Thank you, Jim.
I knew I needed a geek for something.
You know, geeks at the end of the day, you all are probably. Lots of technology people here, lots of people in my team. They're what makes Coventry great. You know, all of the people that are in the university and down the road, we interact with them on a regular basis. We interact with the council all the time, and you know, it's good to hear the stuff that's coming out of the West Midlands. But that's been a process that's been happening for a number of years. The former Mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Street, has a lot to be thanked for it. There's now a new mayor, a Labour mayor. He couldn't be here today, unfortunately. Probably election-related stuff. But we look forward to engaging with him in the future because obviously Andy was a great supporter of our business. So all I can say is thank you all for coming. There's going to be a variety of different people turning up today throughout the day. There's already lots of you here. There's lots of stuff going on. There's test drives with people like Tesla and other stuff. I forget all the list. Markle. What interactive things have we got today?
We've got test drives from Polestar, from Toyota and from Tesla.
Fantastic. Last year we had, I think, just Tesla doing it. So big support. Obviously, we as a EV charging manufacturer need to interact with car manufacturers. Some of them are better than others at interacting with us, but it's brilliant to get the support of Polestar, Tesla and Toyota today. So I've got a short, what's called a keynote, which I'll come on to, and it takes me back to a couple of years ago. So if we all remember COVID, you know, everyone's got their own opinion about COVID. My COVID is probably different to everyone's here for a lot of different reasons. But it basically comes about because my wife was managing a hotel and the council rang us up and said, can you take some homeless people? And we went, fine, we'll take some homeless people. So between the two of us, we pretty much housed 100 homeless people over a period of about 2 and a bit years. The youngest was 6. The youngest single person was 16. There was actually a few 16-year-olds where social services didn't have anywhere to put them. Actually, it turned out that what they did was illegal, but they did it anyway. But we looked after them, made sure they were safe. And the oldest was 87. And he used to set off our fire alarm a lot. Basically, because some of the people in the building would call an ambulance occasionally. And he believed that we were murdering people and putting them in ambulances. So probably wasn't in the right location for him. But we looked after him, had him for 6 months. And, you know, the outcomes vary, you know, for homeless people. And there's lots of reasons why people are homeless. Some get back on their feet. Some of them I invested in. So there's a guy, just to give you an idea, split up with his wife, had a dog, you name it, came to me and said, look, I really want to start this business. I want to start pressure washing roofs. It sounds like a bit of an odd thing to do, but if you live in Devon, you'll soon realise that all the roofs are covered in moss. So anyway, I stuck some money into it. He now has 4 people working for him. He now turns over a couple $100,000 a year. He hasn't fallen off any roofs or anything as yet, but basically his job is cleaning roofs and cleaning driveways. But he took himself from being homeless into that. Another guy, unfortunately, who's passed away now, set up a channel for children called Sea Salt Steve. If you look at it online, you'll see what we did with him. And what he basically did was created poems and educational things about animals and stuff that's in the environment for kids. And it was very well engaged with. Kids loved it, schools loved it. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, he passed away. But that legacy lives on. So we've left it online. We allow it to be there, and that's supported by the guys at Superhub. And that's a key thing. So today has been set up by Superhub, which is my other business, which is a media business. And Mark and the team, they're the people filming, recording, setting it up, encouraging you to come here, running the social media ads, annoying you, harassing you, saying, can you write something, can you come talk to us, whatever. But thank you to Mark and the team. Yeah, give him a... he doesn't get enough credit. He gets a lot of abuse for abusing pigeons, but that's a different thing you can ask him about later. So at the end of the day, why am I telling you all of this? What's this got to do with energy? Okay, energy, whether it's personal energy or energy that comes out of the grid, is important, right? We all believe when we walk into a room, we flick a switch and a light will come on. Who has ever walked into a room and expected that not to happen, is the point. So, what's that got to do with homeless people? Well, homeless people no longer believe that a light will switch on for them. And that is a kind of important thing to understand. When you see the person sat at the side of the street begging, one of the things that they've lost is that understanding and belief that the light will turn on. Simple as that. So the only thing I enabled them to do was believe that a light would turn on, right? And it's one of the reasons why I hate the word sustainability. Like, I want everyone to stop using the word sustainability. Because the problem with sustainability is a bit like saying to a homeless person, why are you homeless? You know, why don't you pull your socks up? Why don't you get on with it? Yeah? Using the word sustainability is one of those words that is the wrong word. What we should be talking about is efficiency. Remember, the word efficiency is important. So, energy management is exactly the same, right? By using the word sustainability, it's a bit like saying turn into a country or a business or an individual. Why do you emit so much rubbish? Doesn't matter whether it's carbon, could be anything, right? Could be farts, yeah? If you're a farmer, yeah? Why do you not recycle? Why do you not put the right thing in the recycle bin, right? And this is where politicians get it wrong. Sorry, Jim. This is the politician beating bit. You know. Which one? Well, I wasn't being specific. So the fundamental thing is politicians of all colours fail because they misunderstand who pays for tariffs and taxes and things like that. They also fail to understand that more laws don't make good laws. You know, and I can give you a tangible example, right? So, who's been caught by a speed camera van? Right? I don't believe there's only 4 people in this room who've been caught by a speed camera van. Zoo's foreign, so he probably gets caught by them all the time and hides. But the simple point about a speed camera van, and I can say I've been caught by one, right? Is, do they make you a better driver? Have they done anything to improve driver behaviour? They don't. And actually in my case, I can give you a tangible example in my case, right? So I was on a dual carriageway, and it basically, what they'd done was they'd put the 50 mile an hour limit next to on the 70 mile an hour road, like after a bend. So I came round the bend, went through the 50, had a guy right up my backside, there's a bridge across the road, and the speed camera person got me, right? It's not entirely the fairest cop, right? So I appealed it and said, look, your signs are in the wrong place, proved it, all the rest of it. So they decided, they went, no, we're going to give you a £400 fine, and we're going to give you 4 points. Don't know what that was about. Then my mum, right, who's 87, who is the world's shittest driver, right, terrifyingly shit driver, goes through a speed camera van totally obliviously, didn't even see it, didn't even know it was there, right? She gets a speed awareness course, right? So me, who was doing 66 in a 50, just gets fined, and the old lady who was not paying any fucking attention to anything gets to go on a course, doesn't get any points, and just gets like a 50 quid fine. There's no relationship between driving standards and the effect. And energy management and tariffs and all those sorts of things are very much the same. So, because what government does is it comes out with arbitrary targets, you know, and a good example of that is targets for EV chargers. So, if you take EV charging targets, the government said we need 300,000 of them. What they did was they went, let's have 300,000 slow ones, on the basis that someone once said that cars spend 95% of their time stationary. Well, they do, but the time when you need an EV charger is when you're going somewhere. You know, when you're sat at home, you don't actually need one. You don't actually even need the car. On the basis of that target, what you would do is take everyone's cars away from them. So the problem with those targets is no one considers how the device might be used, and how you use the energy is important. You know, and it literally comes down to those typical homelessness questions of, why don't they get a job? Right? Why don't they get a house? I've actually even had someone once said to them, do they like sitting in doorways? Well, the question is where else would they sit? If you were homeless, where would you go and sit? And that's the question. And it comes back to this disconnect between cause and solution, and energy is the same. So that sounds very doom and gloom. But fundamentally, what has to happen is we have to make energy easy, accessible, and fair. That's not unreasonable, okay? And that's primarily why I invested in ZPN 3 or so years ago, and why I became CEO 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. And, you know, fundamentally, if you take homelessness as an example, one of the primary causes of homelessness is energy cost. Because what happens is people lose control of their bills. It could be their energy, it could be a loan, could be anything. Relationship breaks down, whatever, and then they end up homeless. So one of the key things in that, if you take that as an example, is I bet you didn't realise that one of the primary reasons children get taken into care is because of disconnection of utilities in their parents' properties. Can anyone here tell me how much it costs to put a child into care per week in that instance? 16,000. You must have read my mind. You must have read this, didn't you? Little bugger. See, look, he's done his homework at least. About time he did his homework. But yeah, £16,000 a week of your money. Right? That number came from my local councils. Now, some councils might have slightly lower numbers, but Tor Bay Council, where I live, is £16,000 a week. How much energy would that buy for the average? How many homes would that buy the energy for? It's absurd to be in a position where we take children into care when the problem arrives before that within social housing. And you remember I said fair and easy and all the rest of it. So if you take a home energy system like the one that we make, and you syndicate the solar, you syndicate the grid connection, you make them into microgrids, actually you can include that energy within the rental. You then take away a cause of homelessness. You're not going to solve them all, but think of them as a tick list of how do I remove causes, right? You make energy accessible, and it means that individuals don't worry about the cost of their energy. You can actually view it in the private sector. You know, if you make access to those types of systems readily available, the problem at the moment is access to finance for those types of systems. Average people in average houses can have energy. So you need to have, like in all these things, you have to be joined up. You can't just think about pick them at choice, but if you join them up, energy is a simple one. It's basically made up of generation, whether it's grid or on-site or otherwise. It's about storage. There's no point in generating unless you can store it. You know, there are lots of companies out there flogging solar that just exports to the grid. It's absurd to export at pennies and buy at 30 times the amount. It's just ridiculous. Doesn't matter whether you're a house or a building like this. You know, we're planning to put a system on here. And then it's about how you manage the demand and how you use the demand. And we at ZPN are one of the few companies for businesses can convert your EV charging from a cost into a direct revenue stream. And to just put that in, it was something I raised last year. If you installed one of our system with about 5 rapid or ultra rapid chargers and made them public facing, you will receive about £860,000 a year of revenue at relatively low utilisations. If you're a hotel chain or a hospitality location or even a building like this, if you've got multiple sites, that produces an awful lot of revenue. So we are ZPN. We're the UK's only developer of EV charging, battery energy storage and integrated solutions for businesses, homes, whatever. There's got to be a question, why are we the only people who do it? There are a few people who make slow EV chargers, you know, out there. But fundamentally, most of the manufacturers of our sort of kit are in Germany and Finland and places like that. You know, we cannot go on viewing cause and effect in isolation. And that is where some of the people in this room are bringing those things together. You know, we shouldn't view energy in single events. Remember I said you walk in, you flick the switch? People view that as a single event. People are viewing it as solar on their roof being exported to the grid. They click on the switch and it comes from the grid. It's stupid. Buying anything like that in isolation is a cost to the economy, it's a cost to business, it's a cost to homeowners. Councils, government are still not quite engaged with that as a method of thinking. They're still thinking of it as individual components. And the opportunity is massive. And I hope, you know, moving forward, 4th of July, whoever becomes our next government, actually wake up, smell the coffee. And if they don't, we will continue with pockets of great development like what's happening in Coventry, but not disseminating out. And I live in the West Country. Big new gigafactory going in next to the M5, but sod all else elsewhere. So we've got a massive opportunity as a country and as ZPN. So that's my message, right? Think of it joined up. Don't think of it as single cause. But the best bit is we all have a massive opportunity to grow what we have with the support of people like Jim, you know, and we've got many suppliers here today, so thank you to those that are suppliers that come in here and customers that are here today. Appreciate your support and I hope you have a good day. I've heard a lot. Jim?